Hi grade 6s. Today what we're going to do is we're going to begin our first lesson on ratios. So first thing we need to ask ourselves, well, what is a ratio? Well, ratio is just a comparison. It's comparing two numbers. Or when you get into higher grades you might compare three numbers. But it's how two things relate. So the very first thing I want you to look at here is we've got 8 dots across the top. 3 are red, 5 are blue. So we could compare how many red dots there are to blue dots. So in this case, I'm going to do a part-to-part comparison. So I'm going to compare the red, which is a part of the whole group, to the blue, which is also part of the whole group. Okay, so in this case, if I was writing a ratio here, I could write it in words with a colon or as a fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as how red compares to blue. And the order matters. If I put red first and blue second, then my red number has to go first. So how do I write this in words? Well, I could write it as 3 reds to 5 blue. This would be a ratio written in words. I'm comparing the red to the blue. Now, another way I could write this is I could compare the red to the blue, but I could compare it as 3, and then I could use this colon. Colon means 2. Okay, so there's 3 red, 2, 5 blue. So this would be how I would write it using a colon. The last way I could write this is I could write this as 3 over 5. I could write this as a fraction. 3 red, you can think of it as 3 red on top to 5 blue on the bottom. So this is written as a fraction. So we're just comparing two things. So all of these comparisons, 3 red to 5 blue, this is what we call a part-to-part ratio. It's comparing part of the number to another part. Now I could have also written a part-to-whole ratio. Well, what is a part-to-whole? Well, in this case, I'm going to write it down here, 3 red to, I'm going to use the ratio button, to what do I have all together? What is the whole amount? Well, you can count them up and you would have 8. This would be what we would call a part-to-whole ratio. Red is just a part of the whole group compared to all of the group, which there was 8 of them. So that's part to whole. And I wrote it as with a colon. Could have easily wrote it as words, 3 to 8, or I could have wrote it as a fraction, 3 over 8. Okay? You can see even with this same thing, I could have done here, this was for red to the whole. I could have also done blue to the whole. So if I was doing blue to the whole, you can see I would have 5 blue, altogether there was 8, so I could write it as 5 colon 8, or I could write it as 5 to 8, or I can write it as 5 over 8. It's just showing how different things compare. Hope that's enough to get you going. Have a great day.